Hey guys, HW. I've paused at this spot on the corner of Pitt and Park Street to focus on an area that some of the older ones amongst you might remember and know. This is the site of the old Waltons Department Store in Sydney. Now, in its glory days are a bit before my time, so you'll probably remember it a lot better than me. But the Waltons Department Store started in 1951 when they purchased a menswear store on the site, and then they later expanded over the whole block. And it operated, like I said, from 1951 all the way through to 1987. But in between 81 and 87, the actual Waltons themselves, they sold the department store to Alan Bond. Now, I'm not going to talk about Alan Bond today, but from 1981 to 1987, Alan Bond operated the department store, and it didn't go real well, and it ended up losing a lot of money and being closed down in 1987. But at least between 1951 and 1981, the Waltons expanded all throughout Australia. There was stores everywhere, but the main one was here on the corner of Park and Pitt Street, but it extended all the way down the block there to George Street. So which way to go? Let's walk this way. We don't usually walk this way over here. So the temperature today in Sydney, it's going to be 29 degrees Celsius. I'm in the city early today, so it's not at that temperature yet. But 29 degrees Celsius is about 84 Fahrenheit, I believe. So as we walk along Park Street here, we'll probably see a few people still heading into work. One thing I failed to mention as well, on the side of the old Waltons, which extended from that corner all the way down to that corner in Pitt Street, now sits Citibank building. Reading through the history, it's quite fitting that the Citigroup Centre building stands on this site now, because apparently Sir John Walton, that started the Walton Department Store, eventually got into business with Citibank or Citigroup as well. So yeah, so that's where the old Waltons used to be, if any of you can remember it. Again, it was a bit before my time, but let's get over to Town Hall over here and see what's happening over here. A few people getting around. Yeah, so back in late 21 I did a video down at Sydney Harbour, and I was facing towards the Opera House. And I mentioned at the time that wasn't a good year to come out to Oz for summer because there wasn't going to be much of a summer, and that turned out to be correct. It rained most of the summer, and then the following year, 2022, we didn't have a real great summer either. But I think I can be confident in saying that this summer coming up is going to be one of those blockbuster ones. It's going to be a furnace most days, I think, given that we're still early spring and we're already getting into the high 20s and low 80 Fahrenheits. It's going to be a pretty scorching summer, I think. So if you're thinking of coming to Oz, and this is a good time to come because the exchange rate, I think for euros and US is in your favour if those are the countries you're from. Should point out I'm in the city today because I've come in to have a meet with my mate, or one of my mates that's just come back from Europe. He had a month over there. Some crazy guy screaming out over there, so I'll walk away. But yeah, he spent a month travelling around Europe. It's good for some. I don't know how he afforded it, given the crap exchange rate. But that's one thing about Aussies. They're really live in the moment sort of people. They're like, they think to themselves, I want to go on holidays now. I don't care that the exchange rate's bad. I'm just going to go because maybe a time will come that I can't go. So I'm sure that's what he did as well, but I'll hear more about it when I meet up with him a bit later. Certainly already seen a fair few tourists around as I've come through the city. Just facing down towards the cinema district. It used to be the cinema district in the old days. I think I've mentioned this in previous videos before, but I'll mention it again. This building on the corner here where there's a KFC now. Some of you might remember there used to be a Pancake Parlour shop there. A lot of people used to go and have pancakes there before they hit the cinema. But that's long since gone. It's been a KFC for a long time now. At least 10, 15 years, maybe even longer. Just trying to kill a bit of time before I meet up with my mate for a coffee. Here goes the tram to Circular Quay. I think that's the one that's come from Randwick. Guy that was screaming out's coming this way again. Let's head down Bathurst Street. See what's happening down here. Still a lot of cars coming through the city in this street. Look at these old historical photos of the cathedral just here. St Andrew's Cathedral. So a couple of horse and carriages in that shop. There's actually a school located on the grounds here as well. St Andrew's Cathedral School. One of my other mates went to that school. Oh, he was a mate for a little while anyway. He was more of a mate, but he went to that school for a while. Yeah, look, there's part of the school there. You can see the kids lined up outside the building. There's a shop over here. I've never noticed this before. Called the Smelly Cheesecake. I wonder if it's still open. Bible House. There's another old building that I've never noticed before. I'll sneak in here to... Oh, they're going that way. Just trying to avoid the tourists. Just turned into Kent Street, out the back of the St Andrew's Cathedral School. You see now that big cycle track here. Can pretty much take it all the way down to Chinatown. Oh, there's a few camping stores still in this street. So there's Paddy Palin over there. There used to be a few more. There's Larry Adler. A bit more of a ski joint, that one, but they do outdoors as well. And then we've got mountain equipment up here, and there used to be another one. Oh, Macpac's moving in there, but yeah, Montbell is that one as well. Yeah, Montbell's an outdoor store as well. So what would you call it, in between Druitt Street and Bathurst Street is where you'll find all the outdoor stores. If you come to Oz and you need a backpack or a water bottle or any sort of outdoor gear, if you're doing some hiking, this is where you can come to pick up some gear if you've left it at home. This crow up here, we call them crows in Australia, but they're ravens, just chewing the branches off that tree there. There's a couple of them now. A few people interested in the camera this morning. Scary Canary over there. Been in there for a few times for a drink. Bit of a tavern feel. Should check my time. See what time it is. A little bit more time to kill, so Where should we walk next? There's a side-on view of that W Hotel that I filmed the other day. Probably should correct what I said about that. While the grand opening, probably the 12th of October, it's probably already open. It looks it anyway. Some curtains are open, some are not. So there's probably already people staying in there. And they'll just have their fanfare on the 12th of October. There's a Druitt side of Town Hall over here. Hotel Sweeney's. Used to be an awesome Thai restaurant up the top of that. Looks like it's still there, but it might have changed owners or names. Used to go there over lunchtime sometimes. It's good value. They had a lunch special on. Heading down Clarence Street now. It's probably a good time to come through. Usually this road is packed with noisy buses, but they've all parked up. Must be getting ready to go back out to the suburbs to pick up more people to bring them into the city. Here we come up Mullins Street. Don't know why it's called Mullins Street. It's a bit of a lane if you ask me. What's this joint here? Oh, it's a coffee shop. Look at that. I wonder what that one's called. There's no name on it. It's a secret one. Is there any name on it? So yeah, Mullins Street. That's one that I'll have to come back and try. That looks quite delightful. Very nice quiet spot to have a Nectar. There's the Hilton Hotel on the skyline there, behind the Queen Victoria building. This bookshop's still here. This bookshop's been here for a while. Or there's been a bookshop along this stretch anyway for a long time. It's a good shot of the Queen Victoria building here. That's another thing, right? You know, I always recall the side of the domes above the Queen Victoria building, but I've never noticed those statues there in the middle. See, when you got a bit of time to walk around, you notice these things. Can you believe once upon a time they actually thought about demolishing the Queen Victoria building? What a travesty that would have been. This J-Car electronics store has been here for a long time. I used to go in there quite a bit to pick up things, little bibs and bobs. Oh, while I think of it, this ramp here on this side, on the other side, this takes you down into the Queen Victoria building parking lot. It's a massive underground parking lot. And what's interesting about this parking lot was they always advertised it as a place that you could go to shelter if ever there if ever there was a nuclear war, because it's deep down into the bedrock. So not sure whether it'd sustain a direct hit, but gee, if you had to survive something like that, and you maybe survive a little while down there. So that's just a little tidbit about the Queen Victoria building parking lot. Alright, as I face down York Street here outside the QVB, I'll just snap off the camera for a while because I'm going to go and meet up with my mate now, and then I'll start the camera rolling again when the coffee arrives. We're going somewhere different again today apparently. It's his choice this time, so we'll see how we go. Alright, the flat whites have arrived, and we've also got some cheeky little banana breads here, chopped up. We're in a new place called Portafilter. There's the card for it. It's in the MLC Centre. So underneath the MLC Centre, in the, I suppose you'd call this lower ground. That's the coffee shop over there. I'll get a snap of it when I come through after the coffee. So yeah, Portafilter in the MLC Centre. Put this one down on your... Well, actually, let me taste it first, then I'll tell you if it's any good. Alright, we've devoured the coffees, the Nectars. Give you a quick look at the coffee shop that we just had the coffees from. Portafilter. Here it is. Nice machine there. The nice grinders. It's the rest of the MLC Centre, or part of the MLC Centre, and there's a few shops and stuff. Let me get through the door here without catching myself in the reflection. So yeah, I didn't want to say when I was down there, but the coffee was nice, but it could have been a bit hotter. It was served in a glass cup. Just could have been hotter. It wasn't hot enough for HW. There's the old where is it? Yeah, just here. This is the entrance to the old GlassHouse, but it's all been taken over by H&M now, which I'm going to go into in a minute. Because I need a cheap watch to have on my arm, even though I look at the time on my phone these days. I just need a watch to have an accessory on my arm. My other one broke. It was a Danish watch, which I think they call Skagen, and I haven't been bothered to get the watch band replaced. So I thought I'd go into H&M, see if they got any cheap watches, because I don't really want a Swatch. It's a bit too small. So I'll just get ready to end the video down here on the corner of Pitt and Park Street. There we go, face down the Pitt Street Mall, and I'll say goodbye to you. Thanks for coming on a little skirt around the city this morning. Like, comment, subscribe. See you again soon. The video is over.